So our topic for today is radio access network. So this is the first course in the Asia Open Run Academy under the foundational courses. So this is one of the most important course because ito yung pinaka base talaga ng Open Run because Open Run started from this technology which is the radio access network. Okay. So topics natin for this morning ay introduction to radio access network. So what are the wireless telecommunication system components, electromagnetic spectrum, the modes of operation, evolution of mobile communications, some RAN concepts, different RAN structures, equipment from traditional vendor or network, and the RAN and OSI layer. And then we'll close the session with the key learning points. Okay? Ayan, so anytime na meron kayong question, just type it in sa Q&A box. Okay? So that masagot natin siya at the end of the session. Kung hindi naman makapaghintay, you can raise your hand. Okay? So let's start with the introduction of RAN or radio access network. So we'll have this brief overview of what is RAN and the role in the telecommunication system. So this is the typical example of a radio access network. So it is commonly known as cell site dito sa Pilipinas. No, sa ibang bansa rin, ano. So, but if you're in the telecom industry, we call it the radio access network. So there's a lot of composition of the RAN or the radio access network. Later on, isa-isahin natin ano yung mga compositions niyan. So, but this is a typical three-legged tower for the radio access network. So the radio access network is the one that gives us the mobile coverage. So we put this cell site strategically to across the geographic area to ensure that the mobile coverage will become seamless and will have a seamless mobility. Okay. So the radio access network connects the mobile devices to the network and thereby offers yung mga mobile coverage natin. So you can take a look at an operator's mobile coverage as an example here. So you will see this is an application which we call the NPerf. So NPerf is as a private company, a data private company that gathers yung mga information from the volunteer subscribers na they want to give their data and then upload it to the server ng NPerf, and then they will plot it on the map. So in this type of map, you will see that these are the locations of those subscribers who volunteered to give their data. And what type of technology are they currently using? Okay, so there are 2G, there are 3G, 4G, and 4G plus, and surprisingly, no, sa NCR we have 5G already. And not only in NCR, kapag tinignan niyo yung buong network ng NPerf, you will see across the archipelago ng Philippines, marami na tayong mga areas with 5G. Okay? So, but this is not the entire representation of the operators coverage in the Philippines. Sabi ko nga, if the subscribers are not volunteering to upload their data, so magkukulang yung data. No? So the representation of this signal of this technology levels will depend on the number of samples coming from the volunteer subscriber. Okay. So if we talk about this signal coverage, so we need to understand first what is the basic wireless telecommunication system components. Okay. So in a wireless telecommunication system, the network is composed of three main parts. Okay, so when you say three main parts, it's as simple as 1, 2, 3. So we have the user terminals. So these are also known as the user equipment. These are the devices used by end-to-end users, end users, no, to connect to the radio access network of a wireless telecommunication system. So mga examples niyan, are smartphones, tablets, laptops, and other mobile devices that are equipped with wireless connectivity features such as cellular, Wi-Fi, or Bluetooth. And the user terminals also, if you will be immersed sa telecom industry, there are different terminologies used. So not only the user terminals. If your user terminal is 2G capable only, we call it the mobile station. But if your user terminals are capable of 3G, 4G, or even 5G, we call it the user equipment. Yan, ito yung tawagan natin dyan, okay? Then next, these user terminals will be connected wirelessly sa radio access network. So the RAN, okay, or the radio access network is responsible for providing the wireless connectivity required for mobile devices to connect itong user terminal papunta sa core network natin. So it includes all cell sites, each of which has a base station that communicates with mobile devices over the airwaves. So meron tayo tinatawag na air interface. Yeah. So connected tayo wirelessly using this radio frequency. Okay. And the radio access network also has different names. No? So meron tayong, for example, no, in this technology, if the site is 2G only, we call it the base transceiver station or the base station. Now, if your cell site is 3G capable, we call it the node B. If this is 4G or LTE capable, that is what we call the E node B or the evolved node B. And then for this example, in the current deployment here in the Philippines, for 5G, we call it the G node B or the next generation node B. Okay, so ito yung mga different names, no, ng ating radio access network. Now, itong radio access network natin will be connected sa ating core network. Okay, so core network is responsible for managing the overall operation of the network, including yung routing ng traffic from different networks. For example, the interconnection of smart to globe or smart to dito or dito to globe, no? And providing advanced services. Dito nangyayari yung ating voice calling, switching, messaging, and data services. Dito rin nakalagay yung mga profile ng ating mga subscribers. If they are prepaid or postpaid, or are they heavy users? Okay, what is the maximum throughput that they can use in the network? Okay, so it depends on their profile. So that profile is stored here in the core network. Now, the connection of the radio access network to the core network can be done into 3 ways, no? main mechanisms. So we can connect this system, the radio access network and the core network, via these means. We can connect it via microwave. So ito yung mga bilog nating yan. Ang tawag sa mga probinsya yan is mga radar, no? But this is not a radar. These are microwave antennas. So microwave antennas, they connect to each cell site wirelessly. So we are using a microwave frequencies. And then if we are using 5G, for example, that needs higher bandwidth, like 1 gigabyte or 1 gigabit per second, okay? So we need to have a large bandwidth in transmitting the signals from the radio access network to the core network. We are using fiber optic, okay, like this. Copper, not so famous na yung copper, but what we are using right now is the fiber optic. Now, if there are challenges in implementing the microwave, for example, there are a lot of mountains, okay, a lot of different terrains, and then the laying out of fiber optic cable is not very practical dahil mataas ang cost, masyadong malayo yung mga islands. So that's the time that we will be using the satellite. Okay? So right now, yung mga operators natin, they are capitalizing yung technology ng low Earth orbit satellites like yung kay Starlink, no? Kay Elon Musk. So they are connecting the radio access network using the satellite to connect it to their core network. Yan. So this is the composition of the wireless telecommunication system. As I mentioned, this is just as easy as 1, 2, 3. The user terminals, the radio access network, and the core network. So meaning, if there will be some upgrade that will happen from one network, for example, from 2G to 3G, this 3 component must also evolve. So for example, if you will be upgrading your mobile phone from LTE, so that is equivalent to iPhone 11. Now, if you want to have 5G signal in your phone, your iPhone 11 will not be enough. You need to upgrade your iPhone 11. So how do we upgrade the iPhone 11? So, you need to buy. No, there's no special mechanism in upgrading. It's as simple as buying a new phone. Okay, so because the circuits, no, the components there, we need to have capability of 5G. So we need to upgrade the phone by buying a new one, and then of course, radio access network, we need to upgrade the antennas, the components, and also the core network. So we need to have a new core network for 5G. So that's how we upgrade it. And yeah, for every technology, if you want to upgrade, so you need to check all of these 3 components from the user terminals, the radio access network, and the core network. Same thing also with the Open RAN. Okay, so these are the components of the Open RAN. The only difference is that the interfaces and the equipment software are open source. Okay. Now, if we put this mobile network coverage, if you will look at this is the current status based on the GSMA.com. So this is a simulated plot for the coverage of for the Philippines. So we put a lot of cell sites, no? Yan. So we put a lot of cell sites because ang power lang naman ng cell sites, if we go for the design, is 20 watts, the nominal. 20 watts, 40 watts, or 80 watts, the maximum. No? So just imagine the power of 80 watts. So imagine a light bulb na 80 watts, yung incandescent bulb mo. Ilagay mo dun sa isang tuktok ng antena. And then, imagine if nasisilo ka ba dun sa 80 watts na yon or naiinitan ka ba. No? So, ganun kahina yung ating radio access network, no? Yung power. No? Kaya, makita mo, there are different cell sites after built after 2 kilometers, after 3 kilometers, meron ka na naman cell site because the output power of the cell sites are very low. Not like the broadcast station of GMA or TV5. Kung nanonood kayo ng TV ng madaling araw before they on air, no, merong sinasabi, no, for example dati sa ABS-CBN sinasabi nila now transmitting at 50,000 watts, no, 50,000 watts, so that is 50 kilowatts. So compare the 50,000 watts to 80 watts, no, medyo malaki yung difference sila. Kaya yung transmitter nila sa Quezon City, it can go up to Pampanga, no, or Laguna o Batangas. Pero sa cell site, di mo magagawa yan dahil ito ay mas maliit ang power. And in terms of height, mababa talaga yan. Nasa 30 meters, 40 meters, 50 meters. But for the broadcast station, maabot yan ng 100 meters pataas. Okay. So we need the radio access network, no, to solve the connectivity challenges. Okay, so during the pandemic, we have felt the tremendous need for connectivity. So marami tayong mga challenges na encounter like limited access in remote areas, social connectivity issues, emergency services accessibility, and technological isolation or tinatawag nating digital divide. No? So kapag wala talagang connectivity sa isang area, ang bagal ng progress. Okay? So just imagine if you are if you would like to reach more customers aside from your barangay. So kung wala kang online or connectivity, it would be difficult for you, no, to sell your items or to know or to let everybody know that you have this certain type of business. Kaya isa yan sa nagda-drive. So sa mga iba't ibang mga use cases like healthcare, importante rin yan, no? Because for example, in the case of RX box, so that those are the IoT devices that our doctor trabarias are using, no, to perform some checkups sa mga patients, and then they want to transmit yung data ng patient sa PGH. So if there are no connectivity available, even the Wi-Fi, mahirap 'yan, no? So you need to bring the RX box physically papunta dun sa isang area para lang transmit mo yung data. Imagine ganyan yung nangyayari sa atin kapag nagbobotohan, no? Dahil walang signal kahit GPRS, yung PCOS machine kinakailangan pandalin dun sa munisipyo para makapag-transmit dahil wala ngang signal dun sa baryo. Okay, so ayun yung nagagawa ng connectivity, ay yung mga challenges natin. But if we will be deploying a typical cell site like this, okay, so the benefits of connectivity are manifold. So encompassing improve access to healthcare, education, and economic opportunities, right? So by extending the reach of these modern telecommunications through this type of solutions, remote communities can experience a substantial uplift in the quality of life and integration with the wider world. So that is yung para sa mga rural areas. But when it comes to urban areas like Metro Manila, importante pa rin ang cell site. So in terms of capacity naman. So imagine ang cell site is tangke ng tubig. So kung sa Metro Manila, nagsisiksikan tayo and then sabay-sabay tayong naligo, no? Just imagine, ang hina ng patak ng tubig na. No? So what's the main problem here in NCR is the capacity, not coverage. Most of the areas here in NCR are already covered by cell site. But the main problem here or challenge is capacity. Sobrang dami natin. So lumalabas niya nasa 3,000 tayo per site. So masyadong masikip, no, yung ating mga kalsada diyan for capacity. Okay, so marami tayong makukuhang benefit once there is a connectivity in the area. So you can have also fixed wireless access. Okay, so ito yung meron kang external antenna sa bubong that receives the information or the data from the cell site, and then you convert it into a Wi-Fi connection. Ganito rin naman ginagawa natin, no? Kung walang cell site, we can get directly from the low Earth orbit like yung kay Starlink, no? So didirekta natin dito, but you need a special type of dish, no? So you need to purchase a 25,000 worth na antenna system para lang maka-connect ka kay Starlink, and then you need to pay 5,000 per month. So that is a challenge, no, kapag in-offer mo yung service na yan sa isang average Filipino that has an average revenue that is probably 100 pesos per month. So from 100 pesos per month, itataas mo siya ng 5,000 pesos. Malaking jump yun, no, para sa isang subscriber. Kaya yung Starlink is not necessarily for all pa rin. So ito yung pinaka straightforward and simple solution to have connectivity in the area, especially kapag kaya naman mag-build ng cell site or radio access network. So paano tayo nagkakaroon ng coverage? Typical, kunyari ito yung ating area, no? Wala tayong signal, so it's a combination of urbanized suburban area and rural areas. So usually we just build a cell site like this. And then ang ginagawa ng mga radio access network engineers, we do simulations like this. So we can estimate what is the extent of coverage or the impact of each cell site, no, sa isang area. Kinakailangan ba natin ng isang cell site lang or dalawa or tatlo? So it depends on the type of location and the type of cell site that we will building. Okay? Now we will go to the to the frequency. So kanina sinabi ko yung connection natin with between the user terminals and the radio access network is what we call the air interface. So these two are connected via an invisible connection. We call it the radio frequency. So for us to easily visualize, so what is the radio frequency? So we will have some simple analogy. No? So this is a simple analogy of the road. So imagine you have toll A, papunta ka ng toll B. So from Valenzuela or Balintawak going to Dau. Yan. So meron kang toll A. So ito yung ating mobile. So you want to transmit one data to another. So in this example, for example, magde-deliver ka for example ng tubig, no? Yan. So from toll A to toll B, so isasakay mo yung sasakyan mo. So kailangan mo ng kalsada. So the kalsada or the road is what we call the frequency. Yan. So makikita niyo mamaya ano yung gamit ng frequency. No? So these are the invisible resource that connects this mobile and the cell site. So it's a two-way, no? So syempre magka-transmit ka, mag-upload ka ng video, okay? Or for example, mag-Facebook live ka, mag-TikTok live ka. So from mobile going to cell site 'yon. Now, if you would like to watch YouTube videos or Netflix, so ang iyo namang way is pababa, no? We call it the download. Ito naman is the upload. So meron tayong two-way communication. Kaya tinatawag tong duplex, no? Duplex communication system. Okay? Ayan. So dapat to dalawa actually, no? So meron din ditong pa pupunta dito. Yan. Okay? So ito yung analogy natin, ano. So now let's focus on the frequency. What is frequency or spectrum? So frequency or spectrum is the fundamental asset that provides wireless connectivity. Okay. And this is an invisible electromagnetic electromagnetic wave generated by a radio transmitting device. There's only one type of electromagnetic wave that we can see, and that is visible light. So ang ilaw pala is an electromagnetic wave, is a type of electromagnetic wave. So kasama siya nung ginagamit nating frequency sa cell sites, sa television or sa TV. The only difference is that mas mataas ang frequency nito compared sa ating mga cell sites. And that frequency is nakatune, no, sa ating mga optic nerves, kaya na-perceive natin yung mga type of electromagnetic energy na yan. And the spectrum is about frequency measured in hertz. Okay, so when we say hertz, so that's the measure of the frequency. And operators acquire a license to use a certain frequencies for a given period of time. So ang tawag nila dyan ay spectrum users fee. Okay, so for you to have an idea how much is a spectrum users fee, so way back in the year 2001 or 2004, nung dineploy yung 3G, okay, sa Pilipinas, unang dineploy yung 3G sa 2100 MHz eh. So that is a 2100 MHz yung band yan. Okay, so for you to deploy a 3G, you need a 1 MHz, a 5 MHz na bandwidth. Okay, and ang cost dati nun ng isang 1 megahertz is 5 million pesos per megahertz. 5 million per megahertz. Okay. Now, if you will deploy one carrier of 3G, which is 5 megahertz, that is equivalent to 25 million pesos per year. Okay, so kung merong 3 carriers ang isang operator like Smart, essentially, they will be paying 75 million pesos per year. For 2100 megahertz pa lang yan. Hindi pa kasama yung 900, 700, 800. Okay? So, gano'n kalaki yung binabayad nilang spectrum users fee. Specifically for 2100 megahertz. So, just like a building or getting the permission to use the kalsada. Okay? The road. So, the license are normally 10 to 20 years in duration. Okay, so they can renew it. Depende kung bibigay pa sa kanila ng government. Okay, so now let's go deeper sa electromagnetic wave. No? So electromagnetic wave, ganito ang itsura niyan. So it's a combination of electric field and magnetic field. So it co-creates each other. No? Yan. So kapag nagkakaroon ng change in charge, no, nagkakaroon siya ng electric field, and then essentially yung electric field niyan nagkakaroon din siya ng magnetic field. So it co-creates with each other and it's perpendicular to each other. Okay? Now if we look at the at the anatomy of a wave, makikita natin sa electromagnetic wave, kung meron kang charged particle that changes its state, no, from one point to another. So yung pinakamataas na state niyan, tinatawag nating amplitude. Yan. So yung positive side niyan, we call it the crest, and the negative side is the throw. And then yung ating difference, no, ng crest to crest or throw to throw, this is what we call the wavelength. Yan. So meron tayong pinakasikat na formula. So the lambda, the wavelength is equals to the speed of light over the frequency. Okay. So it's a simple, this, if you will see this is a simple speed or distance formula. So this is the speed of light. So 3 times 10 to the 8 meter per second. Okay. So this in meter per second. And then you have the frequency in hertz. Okay. So the hertz is 1 over second. So essentially, kapag dinivide mo yan, mawawala to. And then you will have the meter. So the lambda is the measure, no, from one crest to another crest, no. So that is the wavelength. So mamaya makita nyo anong importansya ng wavelength, no, sa wireless telecommunication. So that is a wavelength. Now if you go for bandwidth naman, okay, so for bandwidth naman, so yung for example, no, meron kang side view. Ito yung side view natin. So this is the one side view and this is the front view. Yan. Yan. Sinabi kong front view, kapag meron tayong z-axis dito, makikita mo gumagano siya dito. Ito yun. Okay, ito yung front view niyan. So in telecommunications, when you say side view, if you want to analyze signal in the amplitude and the time domain, we call it the oscilloscope. No, we use a certain equipment. We call it the oscilloscope. So that is analyzing signal in the time domain. Okay. Now, if you will do a Fourier transform, no need anymore. No, gagamit na lang tayo ng isa pang equipment that will analyze, okay, itong signal na to in the frequency domain. Okay, so ito yung time kanina. So kunin naman natin sa frequency domain. So we call it the spectrum analyzer. Okay. So essentially, kung meron ka lang isang signal katulad nito, kapag tinignan mo sa spectrum analyzer yan, it will just be just like a line like this. So isa lang yung frequency niyan and isa lang yung line. But if you will analyze more signals, a complex signals like this or two signal, makakita ka ng dalawang linya. But if you have a lot of signals, multiple of signals, you will see that there's a lot of carriers here. That's why kapag tinignan mo sa spectrum analyzer yan, gumagano yan. Yan. So ito yung tawag ating bandwidth. Habang dumadami yung ating signals, and then we have a different set of frequencies, so it will give us a certain bandwidth. So bandwidth is the difference of the lowest frequency and the highest frequency. So i-minus mo yung dalawang yan, so you have the bandwidth. Okay, kaya meron tayong mga signals na, for example, sinabi ko kanina, we are using 2100 megahertz. Okay, so the 2100 megahertz is the center frequency and a bandwidth of 5 megahertz. Yan. So meaning, the difference of the highest frequency and the lowest frequency is 5 megahertz. But the signal is operating or transmitting at a 2100 megahertz center frequency. Yan. Parang nakikinig tayo sa radyo. No? So if we are listening in an FM radio, that is, for example, 90.7 Love Radio. So that is the center frequency. This is the 90.7 Love Radio. So this is the center frequency. But the bandwidth of an FM carrier is around 0.8 megahertz, 800 kilohertz. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Tagal na kasi FM. Okay. So that's it, no? So if you're transmitting for a GSM, so we are using 200 kilohertz. If we are using 3G, the bandwidth is 5 megahertz per channel. Now, if we're using LTE, we have 6 types of bandwidth. We have 1.4, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 megahertz. Now, for 5G, there's still a lot of bandwidth, no? Up to 400 megahertz. So that's how bandwidth is differs, no, from each technology. Now, if we look at the cellular frequencies in the Philippines, you will see that there's a lot of frequencies used here. So meron tayong 450, 700, 850, 900, 1800, 1900, 20, 2100. Now, if you will notice, no, uh, we are uh, we are pronouncing it in like in American way, no, 1800. Pero kapag hindi ka ba ano sa telco, you will read it as 1800 megahertz, no? But in the telco world, we read it as 1800 megahertz, no? Ay, ewan ko bakit di gano'n, no? Nadaanan ko na rin yun. 1900 megahertz, 2100, no? So, yung iba naman, ang bihira ang RF or EC or telco engineer magkasabi na 2100 megahertz, no? Most of them are using 2100 megahertz, 2300, 2500, no? 3300. Yeah. So you will notice as well, meron tayong red frequencies and then meron tayong blue. Kapag ka red yan, we call it the frequency division duplex. And blue is time division duplex. Okay? So ano pagkakaiba ng dalawa, no? Ng FDD frequency at TDD frequency. So tingnan natin. So, sorry, ano pala to 5G. So, if we look at the modes of operation ng isang technology, no? Ayan. So, yung FDD or the frequency division, so we always remember na yung ating telepono, it's a kind of transceiver. It can transmit and it can also receive. Same thing goes with the base station or yung ating cell site. It can transmit and it can also receive. Now, if your mobile phone is transmitting towards your cell site, we call that direction as the uplink. Okay, ang tawag natin is uplink. And then the direction of the transmission from the base station going to the mobile, we call it the downlink. Yeah. Now, if these channels or these directions are separated by frequency, we call it FDD. Okay, meaning gumagamit yung ating telepono ng separate frequency for the transmission going to the base station, and your base station is using different frequency going to your mobile station, we call it the FDD, pag magkaiba sila ng frequency. Okay? However, kapag ang transmission ng uplink at downlink is happening in only one frequency but separated by time, okay, we call it time division duplex. Okay, so hindi siya pwedeng magsabay. But the separation of time is hindi na nape-perceive yun ng human ear. Hindi natin napapansin na nagpapalit siya. So, sobrang bilis siya magpalit. Okay? Yan. So pag tinignan niyo yung FDD at TDD, something like this, no? So meron kang meron ka diyang two-way. Sa FDD meron kang two-way, magkaiba yung pa-northbound, magkaiba yung pa-southbound. For TDD ganoon din, magkaiba yung northbound, magkaiba yung southbound, pero nasa isang kalsada lang sila. And then they are only separated by time. So that is the difference of FDD and the TDD. Okay? Now, balikan natin yung yung bandwidth kanina. Yan. If we will use the analogy of the road to differentiate, no? Ano ang pagkakaiba ng coverage and capacity? Now, if we have a different frequency, nakita natin kanina, we have 450, we have 900, okay, 700, 1800, 2100, hanggang 3500. Actually, meron pa itong isa, no? Meron tayong isa pa na tinitingnan, yung millimeter wave sa 5G. Hindi ko na pinakita kasi yung iba, for allocation pa ng NTC. So, FR1, ito yung mga frequency na yun. Ito yung mga low band at mga mid bands natin. Okay? So, pag tinignan niya, yung mga frequencies niya. Medyo marami yan, ano? Yan. Medyo madami siya. And then, nakalagay kung anong klaseng duplex transmission, kung FDD or TDD. Now, meron tayong bagong allocation na binibigay ng NTC. Ang tawag natin dyan ay the FR2. Yung FR2, these are the high frequencies, no? Very high frequencies na yan. Matataas yung mga bandwidth niyan. Maabot yan ng 26.5 gigahertz. So that is equivalent to 26,000 megahertz. Ganyan kataas yung frequency na yan. Pag tinignan mo yan sa spectrum band, nandito yan, no? So ito yung typical cell site frequency natin. So from 900, from 450, 700, 900 hanggang 3.5 gigahertz. Itong FR2 nandito, no? Ang tawag natin dito is millimeter wave. So kapag tinignan mo ang difference niyan, pero medyo malayo pa sa visible light, no? Yan. Kaya yung FR2 magiging significant yan lalo na pagdating ng 6G because 6G will go near the visible light eh. Dito papasok ang 6G eh. Dito. Tinitingnan nila 6G dito gamitin kasi marami tayong frequency dito. So, mas tataas pa yung mga frequencies natin na nagagamitin for cellular technology. Okay, so meron tayong mga ganyang frequency. Anong difference niya, no? How do we select yung mga frequencies na yan in a typical cell site scenarios, no? So, titingnan natin siyempre yung behavior niyan at yung capacity niyan. So, sa cellular technology, meron tayong dalawang importanteng factors that we consider. The coverage, so kung gaano kalayo yung nararating ng signal natin. Okay? So, typical na tanong yan ng ng mga students, no? At ng mga curious sa wireless telecom. Gaano po ba talaga kalayo ang nararating na isang cell site? So kapag tinatanong kami ng ganyan, medyo nagkakamot kami ng ulo. We're scratching our heads because it's a complicated question. Because it depends. No? Kapag sinabi, it depends. It depends on the tower height. It depends on the transmission power ng radio. And it also depends on the frequency. And it also depends sa location ng subscriber. Okay, so kaya ang sagot nun is it depends. It's a very complicated, no? Pero if somebody asks us how far, no, does one base station using 30-meter antenna with 80 watts and using 900 megahertz can go. Ayan, kayang-kaya namin sagutin yan. I-simulate lang namin, no? Okay, so we have the coverage. And then next is the capacity. Okay? So, meron mga frequencies na nakita tayo na malayo yung nararating niya pero ang liit ng capacity. So, we use the low frequency. Ito yung mga national highways natin. So, ang typical frequencies na yan are less than 1 gigahertz, no? Less than 1,000 megahertz. Ganyan yung mga bandwidth niyan. So, ang characteristic niyan, malayo yung nararating ng propagation, okay? Dahil dun sa kanyang wavelength, no? At yung absorption rate niyan hindi ganoon kahina, no, kapag bumabangga sa mga particles. So kaya malayo yung nararating niyan. Ang trade-off lang niyan is malababa ang bandwidth. Okay, typical ganyan lang ang kaya. So we can refer it as a national highway natin. No. Yan, minsan kapag may nakasabay ka ng truck, medyo mahirap na, no. Yan, medyo kabado ka na ng 20. Okay, so that is the low frequency. And then yung mga mid frequencies natin, so these are the frequencies from 1 gigahertz to 6 gigahertz. So ito yung mga frequencies na 2100, 1800, 3500, no? Nandito din si 2.4 ng Wi-Fi at yung 5 gigahertz ng Wi-Fi. So these are the mid frequencies. Makikita mo, lumaki yung bandwidth niya, no? So dumami yung lumaki yung capacity niya to handle traffic. But there is a trade-off. Umikli yung coverage. Not comparable sa low frequency. Okay? So, now you will see, meron palang ganun, ano? Meron palang ganung mechanism or factors na dapat i-consider. Kaya makikita nyo, meron tayong mga cell sites, lalo na sa mga urban areas, we are using low frequency. Kasi layo-layo yung mga subscribers niyan. Layo-layo yung mga bahay. So, for us to maximize yung capacity, yung capability ng cell site in terms of coverage, we are using low frequency para ma-cover natin sila. And hopefully, hindi sila ganun kalakas gumamit ng data. Because if heavy users yung mga yan, yung low frequency natin, you will expect na magko-congest yan. Kasi mapupuno yan. Kasi malakas yung gamit nila, no? But if we will complement it with the mid-frequency, ayan, so kaya nating i-cover yung capacity. So what will happen is that makita nyo may mga cell sites tayo na madaming antennas, right? Kaya may nakita kayo, may mga cell site tayo na maraming antennas eh. Ibig sabihin yan, they are cell sites that is a combination of a low frequency and a mid-band frequency. Meron for coverage at may for capacity. Ano naman yung mga high frequencies? So ito yung mga high frequencies natin. Greater than 6 GHz yan, papunta ng 28 GHz up to 70 GHz sa 5G. But the coverage is very short. No, ang liit. So pang cafe lang yan, pang hotspot area lang yan, pang Starbucks, pang coffee bean lang yan, pang office. Hindi siya pwedeng i-deploy mo sa probinsya. Yung cover mo yung bahay ni Aling Mary at Aling Iska, no? Na magkalayo ng 500 meters. Malulugi yung telco sa'yo, no? So, ginagamit natin yan for specific hotspots area. Kasi nga, malaki yung capacity niyan, pero maliit yung coverage. Okay? So, ito yung difference, no, ng mga frequencies na yan. So, low frequency, mid frequency, and the high frequency. So, during the design, pinipili natin ano yung applicable frequency for a certain type of subscriber or area. Okay? Clear ba yan? Okay. So, now, balikan natin yung radio access network, no? Kanina pinakita natin yung interconnection niyan. So, pero ang itsura niyan pag nakita natin yung ng ganyan, so ito yung ating mga radio access network. Okay, connected yan sa isang backhaul network para papunta ng core network. Ayan, so scattered yan. So the radio access network is the one nearest to the subscribers. Yeah, so nilalapit natin sa mga subscribers yan for them to have a good signal, no? And high quality signal. Yan. So marami tayong binibuild na cell sites. And cell sites or radio access network is all around us, no? So makita mo yan sa mga roadside, mga provinces, mountain, beach, rooftop, or even sa loob ng mall. Okay, so marami tayong mga cell sites na ganyan na makikita. Okay, so pagka nakita niyo yan, iba-iba rin, no, ang type of components niya, ang type of structures niyan. So meron tayong mga four-legged na cell site. So makita niyo ang pinaka consideration niyan is gaano natin kataas mailalagay yung antenna natin, gaano kataas yung capacity niyan because the different antennas or different radios will give us more capacity. So kaya bang i-support ng tower natin? Itong mga tower nito, itong typical na pinakamatibay. No, it can stand from 45 meters to 100 meters. Plus, marami pa tayong mga antennas na pwedeng ilagay. So, ang nagde-decide po nito is mga civil engineers, hindi ECE. Pag ECE yan, malamang parang manok na pula, no? Bagewang-gewang. Okay. Ayan, so, meron tayong three-legged self-support tower. Okay, so ito yung mga three-legged. So makita nyo naman kung three-legged or four-legged. Bilangin lang yung paa. Pag apat yung paa, that is four-legged. Pag three-legged, three-legged yan. Ayan. Guide tower naman kapag kami mga guy wires katulad niyan. So these are the most cost-effective kasi mas mura to. Mas mura yung materials ito and you can see, konti lang yung laman yan. So these sites are typically deployed for the end site. Ibig sabihin, nasa dulong-dulong baryo yan. Wala na nakakabit yan. Ayan yung dulo ng network. No? Yan. Okay? So these are what we call the guide tower. Now, if kung medyo kulang ang lupa, no? Manipis lang ang lupa ni Katorio at wala na siyang mas 200 meter by 200 meter, pero meron siyang 50 by 50, ano lang, no? 2020, no? So meron lang siyang 5 by 5. So pwede na yung monopole tower. Yan. So katulad dito ng mga Meralco towers natin. Yan. But for suburban areas na wala na tayong lupa na pagtatayuan ng cell site, we put it on rooftops. Yan. So mas mahal ang bayad po nito. So nasa 25. 25,000 per month yata yan. Compared dito sa mga lupa. No? Kasi yung mga lupa, nag-range lang yan ng mga 5,000 per month eh. Hindi siya ganun kamahal ng isang rooftop. So kapag nakita mo na wala pang cell site sa lugar, no? And magkapatayo ka ng bahay, kung gusto mo ng pagkakitaan yung bahay mo, palagyan mo ng rooftop, no? Para malagyan ng tower sa taas. Yan. Then sa mga buildings naman, so we have the wall mount. So you will notice this sa mga building, sa mga CBDs natin, sa Makati, BGC, okay, at sa Ortigas. Yan. For emergency purposes and capacity enhancement and coverage, we use cell site on wheels or COW. Ayan. Merong bagong term na pinauso ngayon si Globe. They call it CAF, no? Cell site above low footprint. Ang gano'n na CAF. Mas maliit daw sa COW. And then meron tayong mga cell sites that are camouflage cell sites. So tinatago natin yan dahil for aesthetic purposes. So may mga resorts na ayaw nila nakakita ng cell site, gusto nilang palm tree. Yan. So gumagawa tayo ng camouflage. So these are only structures, no? And then these are the in-building solutions naman. Okay, na ginagamit natin for in-building, no? Sa mga malls, coliseum, buildings, yan. Yung nakikita yung mga ganyan, hindi po yan Wi-Fi, no? So those are omnidirectional antennas. Okay? Ayan. So meron pa tayong mga micro or picocells. Kapag naglalakad ka sa BGC, you will notice some kind of this type of radio access network. And dun sa mga private companies like mga factories, they are starting to deploy what they call the private cell site or the portable cell sites like this. Yan. Okay? So those are the different infrastructures for a cell site, no, or radio access network. Okay, now let's continue our discussion towards the RAN components. Ano ba mga composition ng isang radio access network? Okay? So puntahan natin yung ating architecture. So we have the RRU, yung remote radio access unit, and then baseband unit, which is a basic or the fundamental parts ng isang radio access network. And then connected tayo sa backhaul papuntang core network. Now, if we will inspect one radio access network, you will see these are the fundamental components. No? So meron tayong tower structure. Okay, so ito yung mga different structures na nakita nyo kanina. Meron tayong four-legged, three-legged, monopole, guide tower, nasa rooftop, okay, wall mount. So typically just to support the antenna system. So andito yung ating panel antennas. Okay, so we have different antennas for different frequencies or frequency bands, 1800 or 900. And then itong mga antennas na yan are connected to the remote radio unit. Okay, so the remote radio unit is the one that producing the electromagnetic energy. Okay, so ito yung nagpo-produce ng ating signal para mag-propagate dito. Ito magpo-propagate yung mga antennas natin. And these are connected via jumper cables, okay, or copper cables. And then after that, itong mga remote radio unit natin are connected via CPRI or the Common Public Radio Interface. It's a fiber optic cable papunta sa ating baseband unit. So the baseband unit is something like a central processing unit ng ating mga computers. So just think of it as a CPU. And then naka-enclose siya sa isang outdoor cabinet or isa cabin. Nandiyan yung battery, power source, ventilation or air conditioning unit, and yung transmission natin. Yan, ito yung microwave natin, yung backhaul network natin papuntang core network. Okay? So these are the different components of a typical cell site. So nagbabago lang yung ating structure but the concept is the same. Okay? So itong RAN components na yan or radio access network, it also evolves, no? So the evolution started from 1G. These are the analog phones. So ang pinakasikat na mga technology dyan is the advanced mobile phone for system, and then the total access communication system, and the Nordic mobile telephony. So nagsumikat siya noong 1980. mga analog phones. And then pinalitan niya noong 1990 ng GSM or the Global System for Mobile Communications. So ito yung pinaka naging sikat sa Pilipinas. So nung dumating to sa Pilipinas, ang naging killer application here in the Philippines is the SMS or the text message. So when it arrives here in the Philippines, the Philippines became the text capital of the world, no? So umaabot tayo ng 100 million SMS per day. So that during that time, that was equivalent to 100 million pesos because one SMS is equivalent to 1 peso that time. And then nagkaroon tayo ng demand for data. So for mobile data, that's why 3G paved its way to give us the mobile broadband. Okay, so umabot na tayo dito ng 1 Mbps, 2 Mbps, okay, up to 14, 21 Mbps. So sa 2G, meron naman tayong data capability using the GPRS or Edge, but very slow, no? Nasa 64 kbps to 384 kbps lang. Hindi ka makapanood masyado ng TikTok. And then 4G came in last 2010. So with the further enhanced mobile broadband, so dito we experience, no, services like streaming video, okay, online gaming, mobile payments, okay, and the Internet of Things, yung IoT. Umabot ang speed natin up to 100 Mbps, and now we can see networks achieving 200 Mbps up to 1 gigabit per second. So ang tawag natin doon is mga gigabit LTE. And then by 2020, NR has arrived. So NR means new radio. So mas tumaas yung yung speed nito up to 100 times. So ang pinaka mabilis na nakuha natin sa Pilipinas so far is 1 gigabit per second. So that is equivalent to 1,000 Mbps. Okay. Ayan. So nandito tayo ngayon sa 5G era. Okay? Okay, so during the evolution, makita natin yung mga equipment natin dito sa radio access network will also evolve, and yung ating mga user terminals will also evolve, and including yung ating core network, as I mentioned a while ago. Now, if we go back sa components, so these are the typical components ng isang remote radio unit, no? Ito yung RRU natin. So this is a radio transceiver that communicates with mobile devices over the airwaves.
Hi, good morning, Adrian. Sorry, I had to call you directly. Sa atin muna to, ha. Akala ko malinaw na yung usapan natin kahapon, di ba? Na 200,000 is via InstaPay.
Okay, so ito yung ating RRU. Okay. So it depends sa type of technology, kung 2G, 3G, or 4G. It can also upgraded, no, to perform a specific technology. So typical lang sa taas siya ng antenna. Okay. And then nakakonekta yung ating antenna dyan sa mga RRUs na yan. Okay, ayan. Nakakonekta yan via jumper cable. Ito. And then itong RRU natin, meron yung CPRI cable pababa ng BBU. So yung CPRI cable, nandiyan yan sa pagitan ng dalawang yan. So it's a common public radio interface. So it's a high-speed transmission of data over fiber optic cables. Yan. And then yung baseband unit naman natin, most of the time nasa baba yan. Wala pa ako nakitang baseband unit na nasa taas. So usually nasa baba lagi yan. Okay? So this is responsible for processing the baseband signals. Okay? And place the equipment room and connected with RRU via optical fiber. Okay? Yan. Okay? Ayan yung ating baseband unit. Now, if we look at the architecture, overall architecture niyan, okay, overall architecture ng isang wireless communication network. So, if we start sa 2G, no? If we start sa 2G, ganito yung pinaka-simplified architecture niyan. Although marami pang laman sa core network, no? Sa core network, maraming laman yan. But to make it simple, I just put the MSC, the Mobile Switching Center. Okay. And then sa Mobile Switching Center, papalabas na ng network natin, papunta ng ibang network. Could be another MSC or could be a voice network or like the public switch telephone network. No? And then here, nandito yung BSC, the base station controller. Okay, may nagko-control sa mga cell sites natin, which are the BTS and the mobile station. So makita nyo, ito pa rin tatlo. User terminals, radio access network, and the core network. Now, what happens no, nung nagkaroon tayong GPRS? So nagkaroon tayo ng improvement sa core network side. Okay, nagkaroon tayo ng tinatawag na SGSN, the Serving GPRS Support Node, and the Gateway GPRS Support Node. So ito yung data network natin. For example, ikaw ay magda-download ng file, ang route ng data mo is from MS, from here going to here. Kung ikaw naman tatawag, dito ka dadaan sa MSC. Lahat ng voice dito dadaan. Okay? Unless no, IP, yung tawag mo, kunyari messenger, fiber, dito dadaan yun. Okay? Now, nung dumating yung 3G, ganito ang nangyari. Okay, so nagkaroon tayo ng upgrade sa SGSN. Okay, minor upgrade sa SGSN for capacity. And then yung mga controllers natin naging RNC, no? Radio Network Controller. And then yung mga Node B natin, pinalit natin ng bagong radyo. We call it the Node B. And then yung telepono, we call it the UE. Okay, so ganito yung nangyari sa 3G. So nakita nyo, no? Nagdadagdag lang tayo ng layer do sa existing network natin. Kung nasa operator point of view ka. Now for 3G, for 4G, nagkaroon tayo ng bagong core network. Okay, so meron tayong EPC, the Evolved Packet Core. Diyan lumabas si Packet Data Gateway, okay, si Serving Gateway at si MME, si Mobility Management Entity. So lahat ng control nilagay natin kay MME, lahat ng data nilagay natin kay SGW. So dito papasok si SDN, the software defined the software defined networking, okay? Pinaghihiwalay natin yung ating control at yung data, no? So sa LTE natin siya ginawa, no? So ang tawag natin sa G-Node B naman natin ngayon ay as a cell site natin is E-Node B at UE pa rin. And then paano yun? Nung dumating yung 5G, paano natin siya in-upgrade? So for us to deploy 5G quickly and cost effectively, so we have used the existing core network ng LTE and then bumili lang ng bagong radyo and then bagong telepono. So we call it the NSA or the non-standalone mode. Okay, so hindi pa ito ang fully blown na 5G. Ito ay first phase pa lang ng 5G. So para makapag-deploy agad tayo ng 5G. Ang talagang ultimate goal sa 5G is to have its separate core. Meron tayong bagong core network na tawag ay 5G core network. So ihihiwalay natin to dito sa 4G para ma-maximize natin yung capability ng 5G na end-to-end network slicing. Okay. So for the meantime, ganito ang itsura ng 5G na system natin. So nakakonekta tayo sa core network natin. So ito yung evolution, no? So from 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G. So most of the time, ito yung tinatanong sa mga interview, no? Kaya sa terahertz, ito rin yung pinapakabisado ko sa mga estudyante ko. Yan. Na kapag tinanong sa kanila yung evolution or architecture, drawing lang nila yan. Okay, so simplified to, no? Pero if you will be looking at the actual architecture, mas komplikado rito. Mas maraming interconnections. Okay? Ayan. Okay, now let's move on sa last part nung topic natin. So the RAN and the OSI. Okay? So the RAN system is divided into different layers. So each layer is responsible for different aspect of the system. So isa sa mga common way to conceptualize yung mga layers na yan is through the OSI, yung Open Systems Interconnection Model. So this is a conceptual framework that describes how the communication functions of a telecommunications or a computing system. Pag tinignan nyo ang OSI layer, okay, so ito ay merong 7 layers. So application layer, presentation, session, transport, network, data link, and physical layer. So for example, yung from physical layer, ito yung responsible for transmission, reception of raw data over the physical medium such as yung copper or fiber optics. Pagdating yan, pupunta tayo sa data link layer. Responsible na yan for yung mga different protocols such as yung Ethernet or Wi-Fi. And then meron tayong network layer. Okay? Dito na papasok yung mga protocols such as the IP. Okay? And then meron tayong transport layer. Dito papasok yung mga protocols like TCP or the UDP. Okay, yung mga session layer for protocols like yung mga RPC or mga NetBIOS, and then presentation layer. Yan, so pwede yung ASCII or yung mga JPEG. And of course, yung application layer, yan, ito yung responsible for providing yung mga high-level services natin, such yung mga email, web browsing, and voice calling. So, ganun hinahati, no? Yung mga layers ng transmission sa isang computing device. If we will map yung mga functionality ng isang RAN sa OSI layer, we can see that the radio access network is under these three layers. The network layer, the data link layer, and the physical layer. Yung ibang layer nangyayari na sa ibang parts ng network natin, sa core network at sa sa transmission. Pero sa radio access network, we are utilizing these three layers, no? Yan, sa network, data link, and the physical layer. Okay? So ito yung mnemonics natin. And these are the different layers, no? Yan, ito yung 7 layers, and these are different protocols. Now, if you will focus on the first three layers ng OSI and then map it sa RAN layer, so you will see na itong mga the physical layer, this is where the air interface is happening. Okay, so this is where the air interface, no? The layer 2 or the data link layer, nandito yung mga PDCP, RLC, and the MAC. So the PDCP, these are the point where the IP header or compression is happening. And then yung security, ciphering, and integrity protection is happening as well. Yung RLC, dito pumapasok yung mga segmentation, concatenation ng mga data, automatic repeat request kung merong error do sa transmission, okay? And may mga duplicate na the bits of information na ipadala. Sa MAC layer naman, this is where the multiplexing is happening, where we are combining different logical channels, no? Yung mga automatic repeat request na hybrid, channel mapping, and then packet scheduling. And the RRC, okay, the RRC or the radio resource connection. So this is where the broadcast, the paging, connection management, mobility management functions ang nangyayari, no? So these are the mapping, no? So kapag tinignan mo yung RRC nasa network layer, PDCP, RLC, MAC nasa data link layer, and physical is yung air interface natin. If you will map it sa OSI layer, so you will see ito yung tatlo. Okay, so you will not ask, asan yung 7 layers sa RAN? It's not the 7 layers, it's only 3 layers na mamamap natin sa OSI layer. So nandito yung physical layer, okay? Yan sa RRU, okay? Itong part na to, no? Andito yung ating data link layer at network layer. Ito yung ating data link layer at ito yung ating network layer. Okay? Ayan, so sabi ko kanina, yung physical layer, this is the conversion of the RF or the frequency to digital to analog. Ayan, or vice versa kapag downlink pinag-uusapan. And for the data link and network layer, so yung RRC natin, the radio resource control, ayan, so ito yung responsible for controlling yung radio access resources natin. Okay? So, bakit natin siya minamap, no? Bakit natin minamap itong mga to? Because in the implementation of 5G and Open RAN itself, you will see that there will be a different concept or a new concept, what we call the RAN splitting or the functional split. So, ibig sabihin, hinahati natin yung mga functionality na yan. Bakit natin hinahati? No? For different applications na kinakailangan natin for Open RAN or for 5G. And you will see, papasok na dito yung natawag nating virtualization. What is virtualization? So, yung functionality ng isang radio access network such as, for example, the RRC, PDCP, RLC, and MAC, this one can be configured or virtualized in a common or the commercial off-the-shelf server. Typical kasi, sa traditional RAN natin, kapag ka bumili ka ng isang RRU at BBU sa isang vendor lang, hindi mag-uusap yung dalawang yan. Unang-una kasi yung front haul natin, yung link ng RRU, yung CPRI at yung BBU, naka-proprietary yan. Ibig sabihin, itong buong system na to, you will buy it sa isang vendor lang. Okay? Kay Huawei, kay Nokia, kay ZTE, kay Ericsson. But if you can virtualize the functionality and then use an open system hardware or open source hardware, and then open din yung front hole, so pwede na natin siyang i-mix and match. Okay, so yung software, yung hardware, yung functionality na to, which is configurable in any kind of commercial off-the-shelf server, pwede nating gawin. And that is the main concept and purpose of the Open RAN. So, tinatanggal natin yung chain sa pagiging lock natin sa isang vendor lang. So, mas marami tayong choices. Okay, nangyari yan sa sa IT industry years ago. Dati pag bumili ka ng isang server, dapat yung software nun, pati yung hardware nun, nakatali ka lang sa isang vendor. Ngayon, hindi na. You can buy a commercial off-the-shelf server and then you can install the software that you want to use. No? You can select specific software or virtualized functions. Ganun din, no? Binaba natin yung ganung klaseng method of deploying sa radio access network. Okay. So ngayon may makikita kayo kapag pinag-usapan natin in the next course, yung Open RAN, you will see that these are the traditional deployment type of RAN. And then there is another type of RAN, we call it the C-RAN. Okay? Ano yung C-RAN, no? This is the centralized RAN. Centralized RAN. So what's happening sa centralized RAN, typical kasi sa traditional RAN, meron kang cell site, nandun yung RRU, nandun yung BBU. What's happening sa centralized RAN is that yung mga BBU nila, okay, yung BBU nila, they put it in a central office. No? Pinagsama-sama nila yung BBU sa isang office lang. Or, ang common term nila is baseband hotel. Kaya ano narinig namin yung mga baseband hotel, kami mga engineer, sabi, ay buti pa ang baseband hotel. Okay. Yung mga engineer sa mga ano, sa mga kung saan natutulog. No? Yan. So baseband hotel, no? So naka-centralize yung baseband mo. Okay? So since naka-centralize yan dyan, tapos yung mga radio is naka-connect ng ganyan. So what's happening there, dahil virtualize yung ating mga functionality. Okay, you can have more servers here, no? Marami kang COT servers dyan sa centralized RAN. And then you can configure, no? How many PDCP, RLC, or MAC na functionality ang kaya mong i-produce. Now, if you don't need that kind of functionality, you just delete it. No? Hindi na katulad dati na kapag binili mo yung BBU, gamitin mo o hindi, nabili mo na siya. Okay? Sunk cost na yun. Nandun na yun. However, sa centralized RAN, kung hindi mo kailangan yung functionality, just delete it sa system. Just like installing an app. If you don't like the app anymore, you don't want to use Facebook anymore, just delete it sa iyong app. You don't need to throw your phone away. Diba? If you want to listen to a radio, just install a radio app in your mobile phone, right? So, ganun nila ginagawang flexible ang application ng radio access network. Okay? So, I hope you understand this concept nung RAN and OSI layer, why they are doing it. Now, if we go for the RU-CUDU split, so ganito yung typical na nangyayari sa atin. Ano? So, meron tayong baseband unit and then RU unit. So, for us to properly split, no? So, nag-release si 3GPP ng technical reference of how we will split this functionality. So, the baseband unit will be split into two. Okay? We will be splitting it into the centralized unit and the distributed unit. Okay? So, what will happen in this functionality, di ba nandito si nandito si RRC, okay, nandito si PDCP, nandito si RLC, nandito si MAC, nandito si physical. Okay, so what will happen, itong mga functionality na to, pwede natin siyang i-define dito at pwede natin siyang i-define dito, depende sa use case natin. So that's why there is an 8 functional split na binigay si 3GPP. Okay? So, For example, this is your remote unit, okay? Andito si distributed unit, okay? Andito si centralized unit. So you can choose which functionality or protocols will be operating on a specific hardware. Depende sa application. Okay, so tingnan natin. So this is the logical run disaggregation, no? So meron tayong centralized unit, okay? So nandito si RRC at si PDCC. Sa distributed unit, si RLC, si MAC, si higher physical. So nakita niyo si physical, meron pa siyang dalawa. Physical and lower physical. And then yung RF natin. Bakit natin siya pinaghihiwalay, sir? No? Bakit siya pinaghihiwalay? Because it depends on the application. So there are applications that needs higher latency or lower latency, that needs more data, okay? So that needs more connectivity like IoT. So nilalapit natin mostly, for example, nilalapit natin si DU kay RU, okay, para mas mabilis yung transmission natin. So meron naman mga use cases na magkakasama tong dalawang to, no? Yeah, magkasama silang dalawa, no? It depends sa application. Kasi ginagawa nating mas flexible yung ating implementation ng architecture dahil dumadami yung ating mga use cases. Dahil pagdating ng 5G, meron tayong 3 major use cases. Meron tayong enhanced mobile broadband, meron tayong ultra reliable and low latency communications, and meron tayong tinatawag na massive machine type communications. Okay, so those use cases requires different architecture configuration. So paano natin siya gagawin? Paano natin siya mamimit? So we need to have a flexible architecture like what the 3GPP has produced. So this will help us to have a more flexible architecture to meet the requirement of those use cases. Okay? Ayan. So ito yung mga use cases natin. Ano? Ayan. So if you will see there is a split 7. Okay? So sa split 7, you can see yung functionality ng RF at low physical is nasa RRU, pero yung mga high physical hanggang RRC and data nasa isang baseband lang. Yan. So pinagsama nila yung digital distributed unit at centralized unit sa isang hardware. Okay? So meron mga cases na pinaghihiwalay nila yan. Ano? Pinaghihiwalay nila yan. So for example, no? So this is for applications like 4G and 5G. Now, for applications like 3G and 2G, ang gagawin natin, dito nakita nyo, no, si lower physical, naka-define siya sa RRU. So what will happen sa split 8, mawawala si physical. So si physical is pupunta na lang dito sa baseband unit, no, sa DU at CU. Lahat ng mga higher functionality nandito. And yung RF natin is nasa RRU lang. Bakit ganun, sir? Kasi when it comes to applications like 2G and 3G, it does not require a high transmission bandwidth or high functionality protocols. Kaya yung mga protocols na yun, ilalagay lang natin siya sa ano. Kasi kapag dumadami yung protocol na tape na kayang gawin ng isang hardware, nagmamahal. I get my point? So kung ganito yan, so mas mahal to. No? Mas mahal yan. Okay, mas mahal to kasi mas marami siyang capability. Like massive MIMO, okay? Massive MIMO capability, pero kung ganito lang ang ano mo, equipment mo, mas mura yung value niyan. Okay, so ito pwede mong i-deploy na mas marami sa site. Ito pilim-pili lang kasi nga mas mahal siya, no? Kaya ang ginawa natin, kapag ka 2G yan, lagay mo na lang yung functionality dito. I-centralize mo to, tapos mag-deploy ka ng maraming RRU. Right? So mas mura yun compared dito. Kapag ka ganito yung split mo, centralized, kahit centralized pa rin to, pero mas mahal to. Justifiable yan if you are deploying LTE or 5G. Okay yun. Okay? Ayan. So if you will see the summary, so yung tatlong factors ng run splitting is, of course yun, sabi ko nga kanina, we have different applications or use cases, and then we have different user density and demand per geographical area, and of course, yung transport na available, yung transmission. So if you will see here, so marami tayong choices for run splitting. Okay, so marami tayong different ano. So for example, sa split 2 like this, ang PDCP nandito lang. Okay? Tapos lahat ng functionality, higher order functionalities nasa RRU. Okay, so habang tumataas ang requirement mo, dito mo nilalagay yung mga higher order functionalities mo. Pero habang lumiliit yung requirement ng technology, for example, 2G and 3G, yung RF side mo na lang nandito. And then yung other functionalities mo nandito sa baseband unit. So you can deploy more of this dahil mas mura to. Okay, but if for 4G or 5G, you can use this, no? Yung split 7 na yan. So this split 7 is the most applicable, no, sa application ng 4G and 5G. Okay? Ayan. So mobile operators will have the flexibility to pick and choose the different splits, no, based on the same hardware and network components. Okay? Sa different software implementations. Okay? So that's our topic for the run splits and logical view. Now to end this session, so let's have a recap of what we have discussed today. So RAN means the radio access network, and RAN is the part of the cellular mobile network that gives mobile coverage. And the three significant parts ng isang wireless telecommunication system are the user terminal, radio access network, and the core network. And of course, there's a different names for each generation. We have 2G or the GRAN, GSM Edge RAN, the UTRAN or the UMTS terrestrial radio access network, the EUTRAN or the Evolve UMTS terrestrial radio access network, and the next generation RAN. The radio access network may differ in physical structures but have the same working principles. And the main components of a radio access network are antenna system, RRU or the remote radio unit, the baseband unit, and the interface. And the different RAN generation has different but interworking network architectures. And then on the last part, the OSI or the Open Systems Interconnection Model is a set of concepts that describe and standardize how a computer or telecommunication system communicates, regardless of how is it built or what technology it uses. And then we have three factors of RAN splitting. First is a need to support specific UOS per offered services like EMBB, URLLC, or MMTC. Support for specific user density and load demand per given geographical area. And lastly, available transport networks with different performance levels from ideal to non-ideal. Okay?